Hello and welcome back to my show. I hope you're well. Let's get to the news. Let's start off by speaking about a quote by Voltaire. I wholly disapprove of what you say and will defend to the death your right to say that. What a powerful statement. Now, one needs to believe that we have free speech, right? It doesn't matter if I or Mark Zuckerberg agree with your views. You just be blunt about it and say it the way you see it. But that's not always the case, right? Sometimes I struggle with whether to be politically correct or not, whether to practice the first or latter, whether I'm doing a service or disservice to you or anyone. So that comes to mind for me. I just have to, there's some gray area there. At least some people think that, right? I think it's pretty crystal clear. But others can say they have the right to believe what they like. So having said that, I want to tell you that I believe that Mark Zuckerberg did believe in freedom of speech. As in October 2019, the Wall Street Journal headline, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg calls for tighter controls, saying free speech must be preserved. How nice of him to say that. He reasoned his commitment to preserve Americans' freedom of expression and solidifying their American values. So what is American values? What are they? Let's go back to American Values 101. In a nutshell, they're core values of liberty, self-government, diversity, unity. That's what binds us, what blinds us, what humbles us. At least that's what I think. Equality, individualism, don't lose yourselves. Now, an expert by the name of Leslie Chappell, she's a history professor. She said this is her definition of liberty. Liberty is the value that proclaims that people should be free to think, speak, and act as they choose, as long as they don't offend the freedom and rights of others. Doesn't that sound like what the right thing to do is? Yeah? So she talks about an example, which I put in my own words for plagiarism purposes. A journalist uncovers corruption. He utilizes his liberty in two forms: freedom of speech, freedom of press, and then he writes, publishes, and speaks about his discoveries, and speaks about him in the television, right? And speaks of corruption on television. It's been a long day. Sound like objective journalism? Well, that's because it is objective journalism. So here on my station, we promise to tug at your heartstrings and paint you in the best light, do additions, takeaways, and make an emotional plea for you when we know that's what journalists really want to hear. Excuse me, I just went off on a tangent. Let's go back to objective journalism. We must understand it requires an investigation, the dissection of facts, due diligence on the part of the journalist, and the study and accuracy of reporting, or study and accurately reporting the facts in their entirety, not 9 minutes and 27 seconds. It's 15 minutes and 34 seconds. I'm talking about the George Floyd video, body cam footage. I want to see the whole thing. So I went digging online to see if I could get the video. And I found a 15-minute video. I'll put it in the links. Don't make any assumptions about the case. If Chauvin is put in jail for life, we know that not one life was lost that day, but two. So go through the video from beginning to the end, and then you can let me know what you think if you so choose to. Okay? Excuse me. So let's go to an interview with CBSN where Anne Marie Green interviews an attorney. His name is Paul Batista, and she tells him this. So don't tug at anybody's heartstrings, okay? Is this a case of feelings versus facts, or do we get them mixed up and meshed together like a little medley? Okay, let's go back to course. Anne Marie Green says to Attorney Batista, another impact, and I'll put this in the links of the interview, another impactful thing is the member of the audience that we heard is the emotional toll that witnessing this event took on the eyewitnesses. Now, this doesn't go to sort of any facts highlight about the case in any way, but it does reality, it makes reality, or sort of important for the prosecution to ask those sorts of questions. How did this make you feel? What kind of effect? And then she tells him, what kind of effect did we expect this to have on the jury? She tells Batista. Batista's answer is, if I could read what I wrote, I have a little bit of an unorthodox answer. I take that as you're not going to like what I have to say. To that observation, just very perceptive, Anne-Marie. This is a trial, not about reactions of witnesses, highlight, and bystanders, highlight. This is, I hate to be blunt, means I hate to be politically correct, because I'm not, a trial about Derek Chauvin's guilt or innocence of a specific conduct. He goes on to say, I'm shocked at two things, or surprised at two things, that the prosecution was able, after having the bystanders talk about what they saw, what they heard, what they did, what they said, then were allowed to talk about feelings, underline, highlight, they had for the last year, such as, I wasn't able to help him, I can't sleep at night. The defense, he says, the defense, I don't want to criticize any lawyers. He might have the world's greatest strategy, the defense lawyer. But at that point, I would have stood up after the witness had testified about what did I see, what did I hear, and then try to testify about how I felt, emotions, and still feel a year later. I would have objected. And myself, of this judge, judges are good, bad, and indifferent. He says this gives every side of being a very completely experienced judge. And my gut tells me that the judge would have sustained an objection about how I, as a bystander, feel a year later. Highlight. It has nothing to do with guilt or innocence. Is he saying that we have to fulfill a certain narrative? He's saying the judge is feeling pressure to fill a certain narrative. And I want to talk about those witnesses for just one moment. I really believe that some of them wanted to give the statements of the accounts that they had at that point in time in the most accurate fashion. And at the same time, they felt pressured by either the reporters to fit the narrative or George Floyd's lawyers to say a certain thing. So they were like, I want to say the truth. I know the truth, and the truth will set me free. And I want to have a conscience and sleep at night. But I feel like I'm cornered. Like I got to act and say a certain thing. So I feel for them in that way, that they're put in a bad situation. If it was me, I'll be like, I wouldn't want to comment, because they wouldn't want to hear what I have to say. So I would say, you know what, I think I'm biased about this case, so just take me off the case. Yeah, because of those reasons, and you know how that works, right? So I hope you liked the video. Tell me what you think. We didn't talk about the market today, but it's just too late right now. It's time for everybody to get sleeping, or I don't know, wherever you are. So, but what I want to do is thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting, subscribing. Newest subscriber, thank you, Mr. Green. So, thank you for that, and continue to bring more people on board. Subscribe, like, do all that cool stuff, okay? And we'll see you in my next video. I hope you like this one, or you learned something. Like I said before, I learned And when you guys put something in the threads, I learned something I didn't know before. So I'm blessed. I truly am. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in my next video.